And the first thing you had to tell the president was there were 5 big bombs to be defused. What did you do? You must have been scared.
Again, we'd already done this terribly offensive, deeply unpopular things. When I first met him in October of '08, and he said to me, I might have to ask you to come to Washington. I said, well, you shouldn't do that. And I had a lot of reasons for him. One reason was I said, I was up to my neck already in designing this initial stage of the rescue, and it's deeply unpopular, and I'm not going to separate myself from it, and it'll be harder for you to separate yourself from it if you ask me to come work for you. So anyway, January, we're sitting in his office, and I was about to go tell him it was so much worse than he thought, because after putting all this deeply offensive stuff into the economy to look like we were rewarding the arsonists, we still had 5 massive global institutions still not viable on the brink of collapse, and it was going to take a lot of additional unpopular stuff that would consume a lot of his political capital very early.
Right.
And as I said, that in some ways, the fall of '08 was terribly scary because we all felt we were at the edge of the abyss and the world economy was collapsing around us. January was, in some ways, it was worse because, as I was saying, we'd already done, pretty without precedent things to prevent collapse, and yet the country was collapsing beneath us. So what the president did, I think to his enormous credit, is he asked Congress for some fiscal authority larger than, not large enough, but larger than what Roosevelt did in the Great Depression in relative terms. And then we had to design, and Bernanke was Bernanke's national hero was doing all sorts of new creative stuff to expand the frontiers of central banking. But that wasn't enough because the financial system was still short of capital, still sucking oxygen out of the economy. And the economy was not going to grow again, we're not going to pull it back from the abyss unless we got the system functioning again. So what we had to do was try to figure out what that next stage of strategy would be and how to make it effective. And he said to me, again, to his credit in that first meeting, he said, I want you to rip the Band-Aid off. I want to do the hard things now, just not try to paper them over. Very worried about repeating Japan sort of chose we had these 2 counterexamples before us. We had the Great Depression, that was terrible. And we had Japan, who chose a decade of drift, really, just to move sideways, which was pretty costly for the economy too, much less costly than the Great Depression, but neither of those strategies looked appealing to him. And he wanted us to basically put the politics aside and try to figure out what had the best chance of getting the economy growing again, even if it was going to be politically costly to him, but not leave us with a weakened system in the future. He was very good in that moment, I thought.